Once again, it's time to bring in my colleague and social media reporter, Mariama Diallo. It's all yours, Mariama.
Well, thanks, Shaka. It seems the politics surrounding Uhuru Kenyatta's ICC trial is now a dilemma for Western nations. Some analysts say the recent attack at Nairobi's Westgate Mall may have shifted the priorities for the United States, France, and Britain, who sit on the UN Security Council. Kenya is economically and strategically important for the West, and they cannot ignore the fact that Kenyatta was elected through a credible electoral process. This leads us to our question of the week, which asks, to what extent do you think the International Criminal Court is influenced by the Western powers? Well, thanks to all for using all the social media platforms to communicate to us. We're going to begin with a comment from McDonald Ditheko Ledwaba. He writes to us from South Africa, and he says, I think the ICC is a good institution. However, it is just sad that they allow their independence to be questioned. It would be more appropriate if it was called African Criminal Court, because that's what it is. Well, another comment comes from Derek Tafuma in the United Kingdom, and he says, why join the ICC then quit when rules are applied? The ICC deals with cases referred to them by people whose government are unable or unwilling to provide justice. The ICC does not go looking for people to prosecute. Shaka, I think the viewer makes a very good point there.
Very good point indeed. Mariama, are you there, Professor Jalloh?
Yes, hello, Shaka.
Oh, I'm sorry that due to technical difficulties, you couldn't join us a little earlier.
Oh, it's nice to be back on.
Nice talking with you. How do you respond to all this? For example, you hear someone from South Africa saying that the ICC perhaps should in fact be called the Africa's Criminal Court, something of that. Do you think these are cases, frankly, which could be sorted out by an African-based institution from your experience?
Well, this is a complicated question, but I do agree with the comments from your guest that the ICC's mandate only gets triggered when African states prove unwilling or unable to prosecute the crimes themselves. I think the system that was agreed in 1998 in the Rome Statute makes it very clear that there were realistic expectations on the part of the international community as to how much a distant international court based in the middle of Europe could achieve. So the only way it would work is if all the countries take the first responsibility to prosecute the crimes when the crimes occur within their national jurisdiction. Now, with respect to the second part of the question, I think the bigger conversation that hasn't been had is whether African states should, instead of complaining about the ICC, recalibrate their efforts and focus on building institutions, both at the national level and, if necessary, at the sub-regional and even regional levels, so that they will be able to discharge the responsibility to prosecute the crimes themselves. I believe that there has been an African Union discussion about a criminal chamber within the African Court of Justice, which frankly hasn't been received well by the pro-ICC supporters. But I stand as one of those who is saying we must at least engage the African states in the conversation as to whether that is a potential avenue that we could see African states using to prosecute the crimes within their own jurisdictions, to the extent that they are objecting to the involvement of the ICC.